Do you know the difference between people who succeed time and time again and who is just a one-trick pony? Well, today's guest comes from a trading and investment background, and we'll be speaking about how the best of the best succeed time and time again, and sheds light on how you can do that too.
Hi, my name is Vindhya V. This is Art of the Extraordinary, the podcast for those of you who's ready to play a much bigger game and leave an extraordinary legacy behind. I'm glad you're here, and it's time to make your quantum leap.
My guest today is Anmol Singh. He made his name as a high-paid consultant in the trading and investing industry and specializes in trading psychology. He launched LiveTraders in 2015, which is now voted the #1 trading education firm for 3 years in a row, and has coached and trained over thousands of traders and investors, some of whom have now gone on to run their own hedge funds. He's recently come up with his book, Prepping for Success, and here he is to tell us more about that.
So, Anmol, what's the difference between someone using their innate talents for success and someone who's not doing that and going about things, achieving success in whatever the form, the traditional way?
I think people, going about it the traditional way and not focusing on their inner talents usually is like because of all the social, dilemma, right? People have their expectations of, what someone should be, as well as people nowadays going on social media and looking at other people's lives and thinking that's what they should aspire to get to, rather than focusing on what they're really good at. So I think when you find what you're really good at, what you're naturally gravitating towards, rather than what you think you should be, I think that's true success.
Well, I want to talk a little bit more about, how this relates to trading context, because that's one of the things that I'm really interested to talk to you about. But before I do that, I just want to ask you, how did you get into trading and how did that journey start, and what was your experience like?
I started trading when I was in college. I was in college and I joined Entrepreneurship Society. And, we met a few people in there who were talking about the stock market, and everybody was really curious as to, how it works. Then I went to, the University Society's office to see if they have any trading or investment society. And they said, hey, we don't, but why don't you start one? So, that's how it really started. Started Investment Society in college. And we just met a group of people who were really curious, read books together, learned. And then eventually I started writing for Yahoo Finance while I was in college, and Motley Fool. And then, then I decided that I actually want to be more of a trader than an investor, because when you're starting out, you don't have a lot of money. Sure, you can grow your money by investing, but it's going to take a long time for me to sustain that. So I said, I want to get into trading. And currently I have a partner, Jared. He was actually my mentor. At a time, he was teaching at a trading firm. I purchased one of his courses. He mentored me. And then, from there, it just took off. He really helped me one-on-one. And now we're partners at our business together.
And from what I understand, you have now the education program and the company where you are educating traders into how to actually do it in a way that you have a long-term success.
Right. So, now one of the things that we wanted to do with my partner was, hey, what did you do to cause, I guess, me to succeed in this marketplace? Because a lot of people don't make it in this business. There's a high turnover rate. So I was like, whatever you taught me, let's turn it into an educational program, because it clearly worked, right? I'm your case study right here. Let's team up together. And then, let's teach people what it actually takes to succeed, not what they think. I think these days you're promoted, strategies talking about, hey, make $1 million overnight, or, get rich type of schemes. Whereas we showed people what real trading actually looks like, wins, loses, everything like that. And we would actually do it in front of them, like sitting right next to them online or on a webinar, and then they can actually see us trade. And I think that causes the learning curve to go down much further.
Well, I hear you when you say like a lot of people just want to like have the overnight success, right? I think we have been doing that for probably, a couple of decades now, that we go, oh yeah, if you want to trade, it will be just pretty quick, as if, like you're just going to succeed for sure. But I guess the reality is slightly different, because just like with anything, I guess it takes time and certain strategies and certain education levels to not formal education, but some sort of structure to actually be properly doing it. And that kind of leads me to asking about the trading psychology, because that's one of the things that you talk about a lot, and I'm really keen to know more about it. How is trading psychology, like what's the difference in a person who is trading really well and having long-term success and somebody who is just, like basically just playing a guessing game or really like just playing with their money?
Right. Trading, in trading, a plan is really important. Just like you're getting into business, you need a business plan. You need coaching around different areas of business, marketing, sales. Same thing in trading. Like you have to have a trading plan, knowing when to get into to a stock, when to get out, more importantly, and then, how to control your losses, how to manage your account. So there's a lot that goes into trading, and, learning is the biggest part of it. I think these days people think, I got a great stock tip from this person, now I'm suddenly a trader. Or Bitcoin's going up, I buy Bitcoin, I'm suddenly a trader. But that doesn't really make you a trader. A trader is somebody who does it for a living, does it for a profession, and a trading plan and a strong mindset that can actually follow that trading plan is another thing. Because a lot of people can create a plan, or they might even take one of our educational programs. We might give the plan, but then now they have to actually do it because nobody else can, push the button for them. So, they have to, be strong enough to follow their plan, stay disciplined, and not deviate from that plan, even when it feels like you should.
Well, other than having a plan in place and then sticking to the plan, what are like some of the other like psychological factors that comes into play when you are doing this successfully?
Right. I think one of the mindsets that people come into, which causes them great harm, is the ego, the wanting to be right. They want to be right more than they want to make money. Because a lot of people come in, they buy a stock, the stock goes down. They're like, no, it's going to come back up. They get married, to the stock or their investment, rather than objectively looking at it and saying, maybe there's time to get out, or having loss limits in place. I think a lot of people made a mistake during the crash when the market was going down, and they kept buying more. They kept buying more, to get their average price lowered. But instead, what they kept on doing was putting in more risk. And as the market, kept going down, they got fearful, and then they sold right at the bottom, and then the market went back up. So I think having a plan is really important. Otherwise, you'll just be pressing random buttons and you will not get consistent results.
Well, now that you guys have been coaching traders who's done really, really well, had made lots of money, I'm sure you've seen a lot of them, and you've also seen the other side of people who's actually, either not following your guidance, or either they're just, not sticking to the plan. Are there any like key differences that you can tell by looking at these people, the two different types, that makes them different, other than the things that you already mentioned?
Yeah, I think a strong mindset, that is disciplined, is the biggest difference maker I see. Because again, first we talked about having a plan. Second, then we talked about following the plan. And the third one is the discipline aspect, which is a plan or a trading plan will always have ups and downs, right? So to realize that those will happen, and the ability to be able to ride those ups and downs rather than doing the wrong thing when it's going down. A lot of people keep holding on to their losses, and that's the biggest difference maker I see. That professional traders, can admit their loss, can take their loss, move on to the next trade, and they always live to fight another day rather than putting all their eggs in one basket.
I guess this advice goes for like even in general business, because it's about knowing when, I don't know whether it's a product or an offer or a business in general, knowing when to cut the losses and knowing when to objectively look at things and say, okay, this is working or not working, or what's the next step, rather than being emotionally attached to it, I guess.
Right. It's almost like, if you start a business which works only during Christmas time, right? You sell Christmas trees. So then you shouldn't be sad if you're not selling Christmas trees in the summer, or in June. You know that your business is only going to work in that time. So every trading strategy also will have its ups and downs. Every business will have its ups and downs. Knowing when to, go bigger when it's in the upswing, and then maybe do something else on the downswing, is a difference maker. So it's exactly like a business.
Well, Now, I know that you are also involved in other entrepreneurial ventures and, like franchise stores and real estate as well. Just tell us a little bit more about, what that looks like.
Sure. So, my first business was always trading, started trading for myself and then also for other people. Then it went on to starting an education firm, LiveTraders, where we, teach and train people. And then, for me, a lot of my businesses like trading, teaching, it's a it's a business that it's me, my partner. We have a very small team, 3 or 5 people. But I wanted to always create something. It felt like I'm doing everything. I'm making a good amount of money, just from home. I don't really need to, grow or have a team. But then there was a part of me that wanted to grow, wanted to also expand and do other things. And that's when I got into real estate, getting apartments or commercial real estate, either renting it out or opening a business on the commercial real estate. So, for example, would be recently we had acquired a property, 10,000 square feet facility. And on that property, we ended up opening up automotive service center, which services over, I would say, like over 100 cars every single week that we work on. And that helped me grow into a physical aspect of the business. Now I have a big team, 10, 15 people. And now we're looking to open other stores across New York and across the East Coast. And, it feels good to keep going because trading really only takes 1 or 2 hours a day for me in the morning when the market opens. And now I'm able to use my spare time, rather than just going out. I travel, I'm looking at other businesses, and that's my long-term goal.
How is trading different to real estate? I know that there are differences, but what I mean by is like principle-wise, what are like the key differences and how does the transition, like are there aspects of trading that you would use in real estate or what are like the differences?
So they're similar in the way that you're betting on prices to go up or your stock or your real estate to pay you income. So the expectation is the same. The only difference is that real estate are usually much bigger transaction that go for a longer period of time. So you might be holding a property for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. Whereas a stock is something that you can get in and out of every single day. So sometimes we do day trade, which is pretty much every single day. When the market opens, we buy and sell the very same day. So I might get into a stock, I'll be out 2 minutes later. So since the market is fluctuating and there's always buyers and sellers, you can do it a lot more frequently. Whereas real estate, you might only do 1, 2, or 3 deals a year. Whereas trading, you can do it every single day, and that helps you create income. Whereas real estate is more for growing, an account or growing a nest egg, growing a good amount of wealth. But for income, trading is a great way to go.
Yeah, because I guess when it comes to real estate, the real estate cycle is much bigger. Sometimes it could even go for 10, 15 years for something to kind of be realized, as opposed to in trading, which could be just a day or even a minute thing.
Right. And even, your fees, because if you buy or sell a property, there's fees involved. You pay a fee to the broker, all the lawyer fees, closing fees, all those fees. Whereas trading, these days, brokerage, they charge $4 per trade. So the cost to getting in and out is very low. And, that makes for it as a great business.
Well, now that you're venturing out into doing other businesses and looking at other opportunities, like how do you know when a business is right for you?
I think the business is right for you if you're passionate about it, you're excited about it. That's something that, you genuinely want to do. And then more importantly, something that you're genuinely good at, and that's where self-awareness comes in to take a look at, hey, is this something that I'm really good at? Like, am I one of the best out there for this? Or can I be the best out there for this? Or you're thinking, yeah, I think I might be able to do it. So for, that mindset difference, the way you go into it, tells you a lot. As well as, can you see yourself doing it for the next 5, 10 years and be happy with it? That's another thing. Because I think these days, especially in social media, people see somebody doing something and then they want to do the same thing. Now they want to be an influencer or, now they want to write a book and they're following somebody else's ideas of what their life should be like. And I think they need to decide, sit with themselves, take a deep breath and just find out what you really want to do.
Mm. Well, what kind of hurdles have you personally faced in throughout the journey, whether that was trading or teaching other people to trade or now in real estate and other business franchises? What hurdles have you faced and how did you overcome them?
I think the biggest hurdle obviously was being patient. You have to realize with anything new that you start, business, trading, podcast, write a book, that you have to be patient to see those results. People, again, as going back to what I was saying earlier, somebody seeing successful, like being really successful, and they want to be like that, but they don't realize, what it took to get there and also how much time maybe it took them, right? Because people see the instant result, they see the finished product, they don't see the work in the making, the work in progress. So, patience was the biggest hurdle for me because when I was starting to trade, I didn't make any money my first year. I was still figuring it out. I probably lost money my first year. Now I could have quit, but I somehow managed to get my patience in order. And now that has turned out to be one of the best businesses. In fact, my first and only business I was trading. So, I think persistence and patience is the biggest key. Even with my retail business, it took 2 years to get to a point where it started to break even. And now in third and fourth year, it's going to be extremely profitable. And again, patience was one of the factors.
Well, in the beginning of whether it's trading or real estate or any other business, so you were saying that even if you're like losing money, how do you know whether you're losing money because it's not right for you or you're losing money because you just need to give it more time? How do you know the difference?
I think the difference happens when you're honest with yourself. So you ask yourself, hey, am I really doing everything that I can, right? Or am I hoping for things to happen, right? So if I'm doing everything I can, and it's a proven model, so another question you need to ask yourself is, are there people in this industry doing well, right? If the answer is yes, then, well, there you go. The customer base is there. It's a viable industry. Now, the only question you need to ask yourself then is, can I do that, right? Am I willing to do what it takes to get there? If the answer is yes, you keep going. And if the answer is no, or you think you can't do it, then that's the time to perhaps move on.
I guess that's where the point that you mentioned before, which is passion, comes in, because if you're not passionate about something, you're not going to be willing to, weather out the storms or whatever the tough times when it comes.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, what would you say is like the unique skill set or the superpower that has helped you to become the success you are today?
I think I wouldn't really call it like a superpower, but I would just say, when you spend time reflecting, so I think turning off your phone, turning off the electronics for like just 10 minutes a day, right? Turning that off and just sitting with yourself and, thinking, what do I really want? What's my passion? What's my purpose? Where am I going? I think just asking those questions to yourself, I think that would be my superpower is, be willing to do that. And be willing to just follow whatever my heart desires. Following that, I think, is my biggest, asset.
Well, one of the things that you talk about in your book as well is that recognizing in others what they need to best understand you as well. Can you tell a little bit more about that?
Sure. So, what I mean by that is because you could be somebody, or you might, aspire to be somebody, but now being able to communicate that with others, not just through the words, but also through, your body language, and more so through your actions, right? Letting others know as well, or how you want to be seen in others' eyes. You should be showing that through your actions, words, body language, everything. And that really comes by integrity. So being a person of integrity, being a man or woman of integrity, and doing what you said you were going to do, and then doing it when you said you were going to do it, and leading by example, making your word mean something. I think that's the difference maker.
Well, can you give an example of when you don't communicate it properly in whichever the form, that the result that it got, as opposed to when you did, whether that's your actions or your body language or the words you speak, that you did get the result or didn't get the result?
Right. I think what most people do is they try to communicate that through their words. They take credit for themselves, and they communicate it in a manner which comes across like, just words. but I think those went backed by action, right? So not really, going out, saying to people how successful you are or how good you're doing. Let your actions speak for you. So are you taking actions, right? Be a person of example, somebody that somebody would want to emulate. So you lead by example. You go out, you take action, and you do what you said you were going to do. So whatever you're talking about, whatever you're teaching, you're actually doing it in your real life. I think your actions will speak louder than anything ever can.
I guess this goes back to the point that you mentioned before, which is about actually, being honest with how much it's going to take and whether you're willing to do what it takes. Because a lot of people, yes, they may seem like they are an overnight success, but 99% of the time, it's taken years for them to get to where they are. It's just that people normally see the snowball effect of, like the stage that they're at, which is actually a lot of results coming through, but it didn't start that way. So I guess it's being honest about yourself of what you're going to be like and how you're going to deal with things as well.
100%, 100%. Like, it's one of the most important aspects of success in anything.
Well, tell us a little bit more about the book. What made you want to write this book?
I wrote a book that I wish somebody gave me like 15 years ago. Would have made everything a lot more easier. And this is just a compilation of everything that I've learned through my journey, everything I've gathered. I'm always constantly working on myself. I call myself a work in progress. I, invest a lot of money in networking events, workshops, attending events, and I think that causes a lot of people to grow. But I also realize not everybody can, either afford their time or their money, to do a lot of personal development. A lot of people don't want to read books. There's a lot of great books out there, but the information is filled with a lot of fluff. And, a lot of people do not genuinely don't have the time to go through all of that. So what I really did is I just sort of compiled everything that I've learned through my journey, through my personal development, through things I've learned from other people, and just put it in a small book, which is followed by action steps. So every chapter, before you can move on to the next chapter, there's a set of 3 or 4 things or actions you have to take before you can move on to the next chapter. And I try to create it in a way that people read it and, it doesn't feel like, one of those books that they buy, they go through like the first chapter and never read again. It was try to make it fun, lighthearted, and every chapter is followed by an action step. And I think if you can do that, now you're actually reading the book as it should be, unlike other books that people would read and then they say, oh, that was interesting, that was a great book, but then they never do anything that's taught in the book.
Okay, so what would you say is the best advice you have been given?
Best advice I was given was by one of my mentors. I was him, and one of the things he always used to ask me, like, by when? There was the biggest accountability question. By when? So I would say, yes, I want to be healthy. He would be like, okay, by when? And then that was the most probing question. And I kept on, pushing it back. And one day he told me something, which was the best piece of advice. He's like, Anmol, you're not a person of integrity. You don't do what you said you were going to do, and you don't do it when you said you were going to do it. And then that clicked with me right then and there, that if people just live a life of integrity, including myself, and we did exactly what, we wanted to do, and we actually did it. I mean, think of how much better your life would be. Think about if you did every single thing that you wanted to do, or every thing that you said you will do, and you actually did it. The quality of life would improve tremendously. And being a person of integrity has, greatly improved my quality of life.
And I guess it is about the moment that you ask the question, by when, then most of the time things that we say that are wishes become, real things that you would actually go out and achieve. Because most of the time what we say we want is merely wishes. We're not doing anything about it.
Right. I mean, yeah, exactly. By mentioning it, by when you want to do it, by putting a deadline, you turn that hope or dream into a goal. And a goal is attainable, whereas a vision hope might not be. So, it makes it more realistic and attainable. And I think that's why it's really important.
Of course. Well, what kind of weaknesses did you have to come to terms with when you were growing through this experience and you keep on doing basically?
Persistence and not, focusing on the negative side of things, because as I said, my first year, I wasn't really doing that well. I could have quit. And it was pretty, I guess, not a good feeling for me when I used to attend, let's say, a family gathering, or I attended like a party and somebody was like, hey, Anmol, are you still doing that trading thing? And how's it going for you? And kind of looking at you funny. And, and you can't really say anything because you're like, well, you can't really say I'm not really making any money, and I just always shied away from that question. But I knew in my heart that, the strategy works. There's other people out there making money in trading. Otherwise, it wouldn't be the biggest financial market of the whole world. Everybody's doing it. So there are people who clearly doing well. I just need to know what they know and what they're doing, and just cultivate the habits, cut out my mistakes. And I knew that by year 2, I will be, getting to a point where I'm profitable. And that's exactly what happened. I stuck through it. I followed my strategy. I improved every day, worked on my weaknesses. And by year 2 or year 3, those same people would call me asking if there's an available position.
Well, I guess that's one of the really, really big things, especially when you're getting started. Like, a lot of people around you are not of the same mindset. So they would be putting all sorts of doubts into your head because, they're not there and they haven't gone out and done what you're doing, and they haven't been brave enough to do what you want to do as well. So I guess their way of them feeling safe in the first place is to ask you questions as well. So I guess breaking through that would be probably the biggest hurdle that everyone faces.
Exactly, because it's not normal. Normal life is going to college, getting your degree, getting a job, getting a promotion, and then sticking through that, corporate, circle, which is fine, nothing wrong with it. But for people who aspire, more, or have something that they really are passionate about, it's not a safe path. There's some obstacles to it, just like anything in life. But persistence, when you overcome that hurdle, you are able to overcome it. You just have to you just got to say it. You got to say what you really want and follow your path, and you will overcome any obstacle that comes your way. Once you're passionate about it, you're motivated, no obstacle will seem like a hurdle.
Honestly, I personally think that no one in this world is born here to be doing the whole 9 to 5. I personally don't believe that. I think we're just conditioned to think that, yes, we want security, we want the house, the car, and whatever else that the society tells you. But I don't think that we're born that way, but we just merely conditioned, and everyone believes that that's how it should be. But that's up for argument.
For sure. That's how we're conditioned. The whole system is kind of created to create workers. But nowadays the trend is changing. I can see the consciousness moving in a different direction, where now more and more people are starting their own thing, working from home or following their passion. So we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah. And asking the questions, what do I really want? Do I really want the big house with the yard and the kids running around? And I guess we're starting to ask the right questions now.
Exactly. The conversation is definitely moving in the right direction. And through podcasts like yours, the conversation keeps going further, and that's all we can hope for.
Well, if you could go back to the beginning of your journey, what would you change about how you did things?
I think one thing I would change is I would be a lot more patient with others, and I would focus more on creating collaboration and joint ventures rather than trying to do everything on my own. I think that's one thing that I did early in my career is I wanted to do everything on my own. I wanted to control everything, and I wanted to have a word in every single thing rather than delegating, trusting people, building a team. And now I'm starting to do that a lot more. But I think I should have definitely worked much better with people. I think I probably passed on a lot of opportunities by either not trusting or either thinking that I know better and I can do this better myself. I think that mentality, of working with others, collaboration, I think would cause anybody's success to go much more further. And I think you definitely go further together as a team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's, again, another golden nugget, I would say, because all of us get started by ourselves, but then it doesn't take too much to realize actually cannot be everything to everybody at all times. So having a backup, whether that's a team or a partnership or a collaboration, as you say, I guess would definitely get things much further and faster. That's the other thing, the speed.
Exactly. Two minds always work better than one. Two resources always better than one. And, everything you can do with one person, you can do way better and more efficiently with two or three. So I think you can definitely get there faster, quicker, and with somebody, it's even better.
Well, when you go about finding partnership, is there like a particular process you follow, or what kind of things would you look for in a partnership regardless of the opportunity?
I think the biggest thing you should look for is opposite talents. So if both of you are great at marketing, I don't think it's the best idea, because if somebody's good at marketing and the other person's good at, let's say, accounting, that's great. Now you have complementary skills so that both of you will value each other, right? Accounting is not going to succeed without marketing, and marketing is not going to succeed without accounting. So you're dependent on each other, and you appreciate each other's abilities and skills. Whereas if you both have the same skill, that could create arguments, that could create issues, where maybe one person has an ego and he wants to have the say. I think different but complementary skills is a big thing to look for. And then also creating trust. Do you trust the person? Can you see yourself as a partner? Is it fun, or is it just too businessy, or is it too businessy? It's not fun. So really complementing what you want and being able to trust the person. Again, finding a person of integrity. Those things make for a great partner. Anything else, it's a tricky path too, being in partnership. Just realize that.
Of course. Well, what would you say is the number one thing you learned about yourself having been through this journey till now?
I think one thing in terms of productivity, what I've learned is deciding the kind of day you want to have in advance. So let's say you idealize, okay, tomorrow, here's my perfect day. My perfect day is I wake up at 5:00, I meditate for an hour, and then I go work out for an hour, right? 7, I have my breakfast. I read a book about 7:30, and then I, start working from 8 to X. Then I go to the beach, and you really script out what your perfect day should be like. And then here's what you do. You pull out your calendar and you schedule everything. And then tomorrow morning you wake up, you will have your ideal day. I mean, it's as simple as that.
I like it. That's really, really key. I do something similar to that, but I like the way you put it. It's really key.
For sure.
All right. Well, Anmol, it was great having you on this podcast, and I love all the things that you shared and sharing all the advice and about the book. Now, for the folks in the audience who want to find out more about you, whether that is trading related or general business related, how can they find you and how can they get hold of your book?
Sure. So regarding the book, people can find out more about at www.preppingforsuccess.com/book. There they can get some free chapters and more information about the book. And should they wish to get a copy, they can get it on Amazon or Barnes and Nobles. Apart from that, they want to get in touch with me. The best thing would be either to Twitter or Instagram, where my handle is at Delta90, all spelled out. It's DELTANINETY. So they can catch me there, direct message me there, and I usually respond back, usually in a day or two.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. It was lovely having you.
Thank you. It was great chatting with you.
Make sure to go check out Anmol's book, Prepping for Success. And also, if you are into trading or would like to be a master at it, make sure to reach out to him. All of Anmol's contact details are on our website in show notes at vindhyav.com. That is it for today, and I hope you had some great epiphanies that would come in handy throughout your journey. So until I meet you next time, keep at it in your extraordinary journey.